This is bike we're going to try this morning. It's a 1961 Matchless G12 CSR. I've had it for quite a while. Belonged to my father, which I'll tell you a little bit more about as we get on for a ride. Right then, we'll be away and see what happens. Right, I'll see if I can tell you a little bit about this bike. This bike my dad bought when I was, I'm going to say roughly 18 years old, and I'm now 62. I can't quickly do that maths in me head, so that's how old it is. When he passed away, he left it to my sister. He had quite a few bikes, and my brother got some, I got some, and my sister got this G12. Anyway, she left it in shape, probably, I don't know, maybe another 10 years. And in 2014, I purchased it from my sister. It had been stood in front of his garage, and I got a friend to take it home for me, a lad called John. And when we got to my house, I got a tub of petrol out and some paraffin, and we washed all the grease off it because my dad had coated everything in grease. And to be quite honest, we're in reasonably good condition. A lot of the chrome was still very good. In fact, half of the chrome on the bike is still original chrome. And when I say original, I'm talking about original to when my father purchased it. Pre that, I can't say, it may have been replated back then, I don't know. I wouldn't have thought so, like, but anyway. The rear shock absorbers had completely fallen to bits. The silencer were non-existent. That were the worst bits of it, and the wheel rims were a little rusty. Well, I had them replated and built them all with stainless spokes. What else did we do at it? Oh, it had a M31 engine when my dad first purchased it, and we got the CSR engine with the bike, the proper Matchless engine. The M31 was an AJS engine, same engine, but anyway, I got the engine in bits, and it turned out that a bolt, one of the nuts had come off the big end cap, and it had gouged quite a big groove into the crankcases. Anyway, I mean, the crankcases weren't wrecked or trashed or anything, so I reground the crankshaft, only the big ends. I didn't need to do the centre main. And I replaced the conrod. In fact, I replaced both conrods. I bought a pair of second-handers and replaced it with them. Other than that, it was pretty much alright. I was quite glad that I didn't have to grind the centre web, because I think that is a lot of the problem with the crankshafts on these bikes, because they're renowned for having a bit of weak crankshaft. And unless you set the cranks up absolutely spot on to grind the centre journal, because the two outer racers are ball racers like them, and if it's not ground 100% accurate, it's trying to work against itself. So whoever grinds it, it needs to be done really well. You know, you can't get it out, because if it's out, it's not worth a toss. Anyway, I didn't have to have this ground, so that wasn't an issue for me. And of course it's got the nodular steel crank, because the early cranks were renowned for braking. Well, I think it was about 59 they got the nodular steel from Ford, and they must have got it under licence or something and started making crankshafts out of nodular steel, and I think after that they're pretty much alright, they don't break anymore. Reason why it's a CSR, what it was, they built the deluxe model which had 7:1 compression ratio. Oh no, it was 7.5 on 650, and to make a tuned up version there were competition model which would be the CS, and it stood for competition spring, and then to make the road model it was a competition CSR, competition sprung road model. So this is a competition sprung road. Basically it got high compression pistons. I don't know as there were much else different in engine. Obviously it'll have been rejetted to suit and that sort of stuff, but that's all I can tell you about that. I mean, they did do a conversion for them for twin carbs and even higher compression pistons, and that was supposed to make them compete with the early Bonnevilles, but I've never seen one and I've never come across one, so I can't say out about that. The CSR got a smaller front wheel, hence you get a really big gap between the wheel and the mudguard, because obviously the competition one, which would be for scrambling and such as that, had a 21-inch wheel. Well, the road model had a 19-inch wheel, and Matchless never altered the position of the mudguard. A lot of people always sort of insinuate that it's all wrong, you know, the mudguard's in the wrong place, but it's not. That's how they actually were. When we stop and have a look round back, I'll show you what I mean. Matchless actually did build some quite nice bikes, but they got a bit of a reputation of being an old man's bike, and I think that's what, because they were not so sporty. But this bike, it's an absolutely lovely little bike. It's one of my favourite bikes. I mean, it's quite sentimental obviously because it was my father's, but it is a really nice bike to ride. Everything is pretty good about it. The suspension's good, the brakes is good, it handles reasonably well, the motor pulls nice and strong, very flexible. If I were going to go any distance on any of my bikes for reliability, this would probably be one of the bikes I'd take, because I never do out it. It's very, very reliable. I've had one problem in it in 7 years I've had, and I noticed that when I was riding it and I set off, the kickstart went down, and then of course when you got going it'd come back up, and when you set off again it'd go down again. Anyway, apparently it was quite a common problem with them. The bearing on the lay shaft were cracked, so I changed bearing and we're back to good order again. And that's, other than change oil in it, clean plugs, points, I do very little at it. Now it has a terrible problem with, when I say a terrible problem, the clutch starts to slip in it, which is a pain in the backside really, but if you whip the clutch out, wash it in petrol, put it back in, it's absolutely fine again. Now, I've never really got to the root to why it does it, I don't really know. I suspect it's because the engine brings into the primary chain case and it contaminates the oil, which makes the clutch slip. But then again, I was reading in the manual the other day that apparently you're supposed to change the oil in the clutch in the primary chain case every 1,000 miles or once a month, whichever comes first. Well, I can't say as I'm going to be starting changing oil in primary every month. So, I mean, normally I wash clutch out maybe once a year. I normally wash it out beginning of the year and maybe once between. Other than that, that's it. Right, let's tell you a bit about this bike. The things what I did at it, other than that with the engine, I didn't rebore it because the modern pistons, which I think are JP pistons, they're the ones who make the new pistons for them now, is a lot heavier than the standard piston. So it tends to throw the balance of the engine out, so you would probably need to rebalance the engine or rebalance the crankshaft. Now the pistons weren't too bad and the cylinders weren't too bad, so I thought I'd let it go, and to dump in any oil it runs nice enough, so it is what it is. But since I've picked up a set of genuine 8.5 Alcam pistons on plus 40, now I'm not keen of boring it out to plus 40 in one go, so I think I'll leave it as long as I can. The petrol tank had a dent in the chrome panel on the side. Something had fallen on it while I was in garage at my father's, so I had to replace the panels on the tank. It was actually cheaper to replace them than what it was to have a pair chromed. Well, by the time I'd knocked it out and had them chromed and messed about, so I just bought a pair of new ones. Still got existing rubbers on, original rubbers and original tank bags, tank badges. Most of the chrome on the handlebars, that's all original. The levers were on it when we got it. Still got original Miller switch on. All this chrome's original. Headlight bezels not being chromed. So basically it were the wheel rims, the shock absorbers because they were new, and it had a new silencer. Other than that, the chrome's all what were on it when my dad bought it. I had the clock serviced a couple of years back, and to be quite honest, they zeroed the clock and I didn't pay attention to what mileage were on it, so I don't actually know the true mileage of the bike. I've got a sneaky feeling it had 29 or 30,000 miles on, but I couldn't really swear to it. So another thing about these bikes is the forks are telehydraulics, and they were the forerunner to the Norton road holders, because I mean by the time they were making this it was amalgamated motorcycles or something like that, AMC. So it's same gearbox as a Norton, same clutch as a Norton, forks is same as what were on Norton's predecessor to road holders. The brakes are Norton. They used them on all sorts. Matchless had these brakes on the entire range of bikes. My mate has a 500 single and that's got same brakes. Pretty much everything about it's same as this. Bar-foot engine. The front aluminium mudguard had the bacon slicer number plate on it, and something had fallen on that and it had tipped it over and tore two big holes in the aluminium mudguard. So I had to put a new front mudguard on it. Well, beyond repair. Well, it in my opinion it wasn't worth bothering with, so I put this new mudguard on it and that's what it is. And it were the new silencers from Armours. The pipes what are on it have never been chromed. They were on it when my father got it, and they're actually Armours pipes because they've got their number stamped in the back of them. And To be quite honest, they're getting a bit tired. They've got a little tiny hole in under the left-hand exhaust port, and I'm thinking about brazing it up and having them replated, because they tell me the new pipes don't fit as good as these pipes, so that may be the path we have to go down. The seat's not original on it. When my father got it, it got the deluxe seat, which was a longer seat and made a lot more room for the pillion passenger. I bought this seat from Leighton's Complete Seat. They make the pan and covered it. Yeah, nice job, nice seat, fits well. I've certainly no complaints with it. Well, that's my first tank of E10, so we'll see what happens with that. Because to be quite honest, what everybody's talking about, as far as I can see, is a load of bollocks. I mean, I'll put it this way, on all the motorcycles I've got, I never bothered when they went to the unleaded. Nothing I've got's got hardened valve seats in bar for one bike, and I didn't put them in because of that. I put them in because the valve seats were knackered. Never had a minute's bother with any of them. A couple of bikes I've retarded timing a little bit, and I imagine when we get to E10 may have to retard the timing a little bit more, or it won't require as much advance. That's my take on it anyway. I mean, yeah, it could affect the rubber pipes, rubber such as that. What other rubber it's going to, I don't know, because there ain't none. Certainly any seals at engine, bottom of engine shouldn't be full of petrol anyway, so, because it's not a two-stroke, so I don't say that that's going to be an issue. So I'm not so much worried about the seals on the crank out like that. What else could it do? Now, I've heard stories of it damaging the aluminium or the pot alloy for the carbs. Hey, we've got a squirrel running down the road again. Now, and I've heard it actually attacks the brass in the jets. Now, I'm a member at Vincent Owners Club, and apparently in Australia they never even got the E5, they went straight to E10, and there's lads there's had parts for the carburettor stood in ethanol, 10% ethanol. There's even one lad has had the parts from a carburettor and a carb body submersed in neat ethanol. And he has a super set of accurate scales and he weighs them to see what the loss is, and apparently he's suffered no loss, so I'm just going to see what happens. It'll be whatever it is, I think. And if you are, I think one of the other bad things with the ethanol is when you're looking at old steel petrol tanks, ethanol absorbs water, so you may end up with water in your petrol tank, or maybe a little bit of water in your carbs such as that. But I think if you use sort of like Stab or Lucas's fuel stabilizer or seafoam and such as that, I think it has a neutralising effect on the ethanol, so I don't see as that's going to be a problem. Well, I'm not anticipating it being a problem, so I'm going to try it anyway. If it causes any trouble, only person I can blame is myself, innit? We're away, we're off home again. Had my cup of tea and my chat and bit of crack with lads. Yeah, I was saying about these, they're definitely an underrated bike. And they're a pretty affordable classic as well, they're not all expensive. Pretty smooth is this bike. You get it up to 60 mile an hour, which is that's what we're up to 60 now, and it's a nice smooth bike. Definitely less vibes than my Triumph. Didn't know if they were going to stop a bleeding knot. I think there's a bit of a lay-by just in here, or a bit of spare land. We can stop now. We'll have a once round this bike. Right, what I was telling you about the wheel and the mudguard, if you look, she's a massive space. Well, when they had the 21-inch front wheel, that didn't, you know, it obviously wasn't like that, but when Matchless decided to make it into the road version, they never bothered moving the mudguard. Now on this side of the bike, there ain't much I can tell you. The later models have a piece back here to move the footrest back because they were too far forward on this model. They've still got original petrol taps. It's just a pretty good, nice straight bike. They have retracting stands, main and side, and I think that were just for competition models, but I'm not 100% sure. Nice big toolbox. Top box I found on eBay. Nice little shallow genuine Cravens. Believe it or not, when I bought it, it was full of stuff. It had got all sorts in it. All this is original chrome, never been plated. Mudguard I replaced because it had this piece ripped out of it. AMC gearbox, oil tank. I had to put a tap in here because if it stood for a few days she wet sumps. Saves me having to drain sump all the time. This what panel what were damaged, and like I say, I put new ones on, but these are original rubbers, original taps, tank badges. It's just altogether a nice little tidy bike. Nice bike to ride. It really is quite comfortable. This was the Leighton seat I spoke about earlier, and the deluxe seat comes a lot further back, so the passenger, if you can imagine, there's not much room for the passenger when you get a biggish fella on. This is the armour pipes what were on it when I got it. When my father bought it, they were on it. I don't think there's a lot else I can tell you about it. I mean, yeah, it's just normal run-of-the-mill. The tappets are easy to set. The rocket arms on an eccentric, so it's quite easy to set. You just undo a little screw, turn them, feel the gauge in, check them, lock the screw up, and that's it. Really easy. And of course, being competition model, they stayed on the mag. The later ones have an alternator and I think it's coil ignition, where they stayed on mag and dynamo up front for competition one. It's got a shorter crank obviously because it's the competition one and it runs the mag, where like I say the others run an alternator. Quite a nice little thought out bike. It's I'm fond. I think they're a nice bike. Anyway, we'll get off and we'll go a bit further. Well, it's a lovely day. Yep, they definitely were for sure an underrated bike. One of my favourites anyway. And anyway, I'm almost home now, so I hope you've enjoyed this little ride out, and we'll see you on the next ride.